Welcome to the Unseen Wisdom. You know, there's been so much noise in the news lately about the US and China trade situation,
It's hard to miss.
right? And something else really jumped out. Surprising look at where some big American luxury brands actually get their stuff made.
Ah, yes. The manufacturing side. China, right.
Exactly. So today we're going to do a deep dive into all of that. We've been looking at a whole range of recent reports, trying to figure out where this is all going.
Sounds good. We want to unpack how this trade tussle might end, or at least evolve.
Yeah, and what this whole exposure means for those, high-end brands, their future.
And China's role in it all. Do they actually gain from this?
Good question. We'll also try to pull out some maybe wider lessons here about relying on other countries, that sort of thing.
And maybe understand China's reaction a bit better, too. Why they're pushing back so hard.
Definitely. And hey, if this sounds interesting to you listening, please do hit that like button and subscribe so you catch our future deep dives.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our mission today is really to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
Get past the headline.
See what's really going on.
Yeah. We've looked at news reports, sure, but also financial analysis, reactions from people directly hit by this.
Like farmers, business owners.
Exactly. Farmers, small business owners, and of course consumers. Like, how does this affect you?
Right. We want to give everyone a clearer picture, maybe highlight some of those unexpected connections.
Okay, let's get into it.
So, the big one first. How does this battle, this trade war between the U.S. and China, how does it actually end?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe $1 trillion.
Yeah, probably. We're seeing some pretty strong language. Fox News reported President Xi saying, this country is not afraid.
That's a very clear signal. No backing down easily.
And they're backing it up, aren't they, with actions, raising tariffs on U.S. goods, what was it, 84% up to 125%?
Yeah, massive hikes.
Yeah.
Which, of course, came after the U.S. raised its own tariffs on Chinese goods. It's very tit for tat.
So what's the U.S. thinking behind this? CNN often frames it as, like, trying to achieve fairness, correcting years of being ripped off.
That's definitely a part of the narrative. Plus, the push to bring manufacturing back home, back to the U.S.
We heard that steelworker on CNN, right? Sounding pretty hopeful about American industry.
Yeah, there's that sentiment.
Yeah.
And a belief, maybe, within the administration that other countries are sort of starting to see things their way.
But is that actually happening on the ground? I mean, CNN also spoke to that honey farmer, Jim Hartman.
Right, in North Carolina. He actually voted for Trump, but he's feeling the pain now.
Yeah, his packaging costs went up because supplies from Taiwan, Portugal, they got hit by tariffs too.
And he mentioned the flip-flop, the constant changes. Makes planning impossible for businesses like his.
Which makes you wonder, Fox News raised this point, could these tariffs end up being seen as like a historical joke if they don't make economic sense long term?
It's a real risk. The intention might be one thing, but the actual economic consequences, well, they can be unpredictable.
Especially when you have, as Fox News also noted, President Xi's consolidated power. Suggests China's not likely to just fold.
Definitely suggests a unified front. Though the U.S. side seems to be banking on making deals elsewhere, right? Like with Taiwan, Japan, South Korea.
According to Fox News, yeah. Trying to maybe isolate China or reshape trade flows that way.
Possibly. But then you hear other perspectives, like on MSNBC, arguing the U.S. is kind of shooting itself in the foot.
Committing one own goal after another, I think was the phrase.
It's basically creating openings for others, including China, potentially at America's own long-term expense.
That's a pretty stark warning, the idea of a generational price to pay.
It really highlights the potential downsides, the unintended consequences.
So how do we get out of this? The Progressive Politics station suggested maybe the markets themselves force some kind of negotiation.
That's a possibility. Economic pain can be a powerful motivator, but fundamentally, businesses just need clarity, stability.
Which they're not getting right now. Live Now and W from FFox talked about how both sides are just, digging in their heels.
Yeah, it's a real standoff. And the big question hanging over everything is, who blinks first?
High stakes indeed. Okay, let's shift gears a bit to that other big piece, the luxury brands. This exposure, as you called it.
Ah, yes, the made in China revelation for designer goods.
Yeah. Various online sources like Metager Reacts, Alexandra, IM Asia, they've all been talking about this. Bags, clothes, shoes.
Stuff people assumed was made in, say, Italy or France.
Right. But actually coming out of Chinese factories, it kind of shatters an image, doesn't it?
It really does. The whole mystique around European craftsmanship, the justification for those sky-high prices, it gets questioned.
Some people were comparing them to, like, Canal Street specials, basically knockoffs. suggesting the origin difference might not be as huge as the price difference.
Well, yeah. L.Y. Zander brought up that Birkin bag example. Costs maybe $1,400 to make.
Sells for $40,000.
It's an insane markup, like 90%. And consumers are starting to ask, wait, am I paying for quality or just the logo?
The name, the prestige.
Exactly. And Integer Reacts said the trade war kind of accidentally exposed this, pulled back the curtain on the real from the fake.
And maybe these brands haven't been totally transparent. She called it lying by omission.
That seems fair. Not explicitly stating Chinese manufacturing when that's a key part of the process. She even found a website claiming French manufacturing.
While likely using Chinese factories. Wow.
So what does this do to the brands long term? L.Y. Zander questioned the resale value if everyone knows it's made in China.
Does that $40,000 bag hold its value in the same way?
She even called it total violence from the Chinese manufacturer, like a deliberate undermining.
And I Am Asia talked about the impact on Western soft power, that image, that aspirational quality.
It potentially erodes it, yeah. And then there's the consumer reaction. Will people just bypass the brands altogether?
Go straight to the source. Elizandra and I Am Asia both suggested that.
If you can find the manufacturer, maybe get similar quality for way less. Why wouldn't you?
Cuts out the middleman, and that huge markup could really shake up the luxury market.
A fundamental shift, potentially.
Okay, so leading from that, does China actually gain from all this exposure?
Well, they certainly seem to be positioning themselves too. Look at what L.Y. Zander reported. China offering 13% cashback for American shoppers.
And visa-free entry.
Yeah, basically rolling out the red carpet. Come here, shop directly.
That's pretty clever. Directly challenging the Western brands, saying we're the real manufacturers.
Exactly. It reinforces their image as the world's workshop, but maybe now for high-quality goods too, not just cheap stuff. And it undercuts that Western brand premium.
And Dodger Reacts suggested China might be seen as ahead of the game here in manufacturing skill, cost saving.
And maybe feeling quite confident. Not really fazed by U.S. pressure because ultimately American consumers rely so much on Chinese goods anyway.
Makes sense. They've invested heavily in becoming the world's factory, right? Training, infrastructure.
For decades. And as Ninja Reacts pointed out, it's not just basic stuff anymore. They're leaders in EVs, solar panels, advanced tech.
So this luxury goods thing is just another piece of that larger manufacturing dominance puzzle.
Precisely. It adds another layer to that narrative.
So stepping back, what are the bigger lessons here? From the trade fight, from the brand revelations, what are we learning?
I think one huge lesson highlighted by Integer Reacts is just how dependent America has become on other countries.
For really crucial things, right? Medicines, microchips.
Absolutely. Essential goods. And this wasn't an accident. It was sort of policy-driven.
Like NAFTA, China joining the WTO.
Yeah.
Companies chasing cheaper labor.
Yeah, a gradual shift where manufacturing capacity moved offshore. America focused more on, say, design, branding, tech.
The thinking part, maybe.
The thinking, the dreaming up. But as she put it, forgetting that somebody else has to build the things we dream up.
That's a powerful point. It forces a rethink, doesn't it? Is this reliance-wise?
That's the core question. We heard it from the honey farmer, and Ninja Reacts mentioned it. Love Now W from F. Fox talked about a potential U-turn in trade thinking.
But bringing manufacturing back, reshoring, isn't simple or quick, is it?
No. Love Now W from F. Fox pointed out it takes time, investment, and probably means higher prices for consumers, at least initially.
Plus, businesses need stability to make those big investments, which, as we discussed, is lacking right now.
Exactly. That need for clear, stable trade policy came up repeatedly. Progressive Politics Station, Live Now W.
And there's another risk, isn't there? Alienating allies. CNN and MSNBC both raised that.
Yeah, if you're perceived as acting unilaterally, aggressively, it can damage relationships that are also economically important. It's all interconnected.
Which brings us right back to that central dilemma. Rely on others or produce our own.
It's the key debate intensified by all this. We heard President Trump's view, via CNN, use tariffs to bring jobs back.
But then the pushback. The honey farmer, the bike shop owner on CNN, they're seeing costs go up because of tariffs on imported parts.
Right. The bike shop owner faced potential tariffs of up to 79% on things from Taiwan. That's huge.
And the farmers. The soybean farmer on CNN talked about losing China as a massive export market. That hurts.
And he made the point that Trouble in the farm economy doesn't stay there. It ripples out into local towns, other businesses.
He also stressed needing negotiations alongside tariffs, not just threats.
Though, interestingly, CNN did find that welding company owner who was seeing more business, potentially because of tariffs, making imports less attractive.
So it's complex. Some winners, some losers, maybe.
Seems that way. But then Live Now from FOX brought up the dependence on China for generic drugs. What happens if those prices spike?
That's a scary thought. They called it a necessary U-turn on relying on foreign suppliers for essentials.
Necessary maybe, but the path for that U-turn is unclear and likely bumpy.
Okay, last big question then. Was China wrong to retaliate the way they did, with those big tariff hikes?
Well, wrong is subjective here, isn't it? From China's perspective, as reported by CNN and Fox News, the U.S. tariffs were unfair to begin with.
They felt they were the ones being ripped off or unfairly targeted.
Exactly. So in that light, retaliation seems like a pretty natural, almost predictable response to protect their interests.
Fox News reported the Chinese foreign minister accusing the U.S. of using intimidation threats and blackmail, defying the global community.
Strong words. It paints a picture of China seeing itself as defending against an aggressor.
And Livno W. from FOX documented that tit-for-tat cycle clearly. One side acts, the other responds. Escalation.
And underpinning China's confidence, as Enger reacts and Lysander suggested, is their sheer manufacturing muscle. They likely feel they can withstand this.
Because the world, including the U.S., needs their factories.
To a large extent, yes. So whether their retaliation was wrong, it depends heavily on whether you think the initial U.S. actions were justified. China clearly believes its response was justified.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it's messy, isn't it? This intersection of the U.S.-China trade fight and the luxury brand revelations.
Very messy. A complex web, like you said. Economic, political, social factors all tangled up.
And the ending. Still totally uncertain for the trade war. The brand business, facing maybe a big shift in how consumers see them.
And these big lessons about relying on global supply chains, they're pretty stark.
What really stood out to you listening today? Were you surprised about the luxury brands? Or maybe more focused on the trade war outcome?
How do you think this plays out long term? For global trade, for different economies? We'd be curious to know your thoughts.
It definitely raises that fundamental question for all of us, doesn't it? In this interconnected world, where's the right balance? Global teamwork versus national self-sufficiency.
No easy answers there. But it's something we really need to keep thinking about.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive on the unseen wisdom. We really hope this was valuable.
Yeah, we encourage you to keep following these developments, keep asking questions, form your own opinions.
And if you did find this useful, please hit that like button, drop a comment, tell us what you think or what else you're curious about, and definitely subscribe for more.
What other unseen wisdom should we explore next? Let us know below. Thanks for listening.